So you want to have a multi-sig Bitcoin wallet with participants that are geographically separated. There's a lot of content out there, including some of my own, that talks a lot about multi-sig, but not that specific and often critical detail. And that is why in today's video, I'm going to go through how to do this with participants that are geographically separated through Electrum Wallet. Let's jump in. Welcome back to another video. My name is Ian Major. I'm an entrepreneur, Bitcoin pleb, and all-around raging capitalist. And as I alluded to, I've done content on this channel before, including a overview of the Electrum Wallet. And even then, and I didn't intentionally do so, but there isn't as much in that video, nor in many videos and content out there that you might see that specifically speaks to this use case of a geographically separated multisig. Right, where you have participants or co-signers of that multi-signature wallet that are geographically separated, and you have to have some way to coordinate signatures to spend Bitcoin out of that multi-sig wallet. So today we are going to look at Electrum Wallet and how to do just that. I'm also going to comment on a few alternatives or other methods that you might want to take a look at. So you're not going to want to miss a thing. For those returning to the channel, welcome back, my friends. As always, it is great to have you. And for those new to the channel, I welcome you as well. I know there are many of you, over 80% of you, in fact, watching right this very moment are not yet subscribed. And so what are you doing, my friends? Come join us in our merry and growing gang in cyberspace. I cover all manner of Bitcoin-related content, including tutorials such as this, news, analysis, lightning, running your own node, DeFi on Bitcoin. You want it, I cover it. Those are the rules for this channel. But with all that out of the way, let's jump in talking about this geographically separated multi-sig use case. All right, so in this video, I'm not going to go too deep into the basics, but I will kind of just quickly recap what is a multi-signature wallet. Just as a refresher, you can probably thumb forward a bit if you are already very familiar with multisig. So multisig or multi-signature wallet is simply a wallet that requires more than one valid signature in order to spend funds out of that Bitcoin wallet. And so you can combine multiple keys to form a multi-signature wallet. These keys could be from software wallets, they could be from hardware wallets. And so in today's video, I'm going to be going through an example in Electrum using two different hardware wallets. One will be the Trezor, and another is a ledger. Technically, just as an aside, a ledger really isn't a best practice for multi-sig, at least currently, given that you can't verify the change address involved with a multi-sig transaction on the ledger interface. That is certainly a best practice to be able to verify on the hardware interface both the address that you're sending Bitcoin to, but to ensure that also any Bitcoin that's being returned, if you're spending a partial UTXO, that it's coming back to the right change address, right? Now, Ledger did come out with a revamp for their Bitcoin app that will ultimately support, that and other kind of more sophisticated usage with multisig, but that is a little bit of a work in progress. So not a showstopper, but again, for completeness, I wanted to just mention that. Nonetheless, we're going to forge ahead with those two devices for today. And so the idea is that I can use those two devices, and you can have all sorts of different configurations. You can have what's called a 2 of 3. So that is to say any two signers among a total group of 3 can produce the requirements necessary to spend funds out of that Bitcoin wallet. You can have a 3 of 5. There's a lot of different ways you could configure this. And so the use case here is think of, maybe you're an organization, maybe you're a family, maybe you're a group of friends, whatever the case is, if you have different participants that are geographically separated for this multisig, you're going to need the right tools to be able to coordinate that. And so to be fair, there are a few different options out there. You have services like Unchained Capital and Casa that have basically made a business on this, right? Helping organizations, individuals, entities, etc., create robust multi-sig setups. So that is always a route that you have. I've done a video on Unchained Capital that I will link in the description down below. Casa is certainly on the radar for a future video. But you can definitely go that route. And so in these instances, those companies are serving as this sort of coordinator, right? That is to say, if I'm on this side of the planet and I provide a signature to my Unchained Capital multisig, and I have a friend on the opposite side of the world who's going to apply, his or her signature, like Unchained Capital is helping to achieve that coordination process. Some folks will say, yeah, like Casa, fine, Unchained Capital, fine. I just want sort of my own. I don't want like an Unchained Capital key. Keep in mind that like these setups, these companies couldn't just take your Bitcoin. You would typically have maybe like a 2 of 3 at least setup where you have one key, maybe your friend or family member or business partner has another key, and then Casa or Unchained Capital would have a third key required if one of you elsewhere in that setup loses the key, right? Like that's the whole kind of purpose of multisig, is to provide essentially additional redundancy. If you were to lose a key or your seed phrase, etc., that's gone, right? And so not your keys, not your coins in the most literal sense. So again, like going one of those routes is fine. But I've heard from a lot of folks of like, well, I just want to do it myself. I don't want to involve any kind of company. And so if that is you, my friend, this video is for you. So we're going to be using Electrum Wallet. Electrum Wallet is definitely an OG Bitcoin wallet that has, just continued to be an incredibly versatile Bitcoin wallet, and is particularly versatile when it comes to multi-sig setups. The last comment I want to make is I'm not going to go into like the very, very start of where to download Electrum, verifying the installer, all that good stuff. Rather, I'm going to link you to the first video I've done on Electrum Wallet that goes through all of that in depth. And so if you're brand new to Electrum Wallet, I would probably recommend checking that video out first. So pause this video and come back after you've watched the first one. But today we're going to pick up and basically still go through the process from scratch, except for, downloading Electrum, the program, and all that good stuff. So with that overview, intro, possible alternatives out of the way, let's dive in and actually look at how to accomplish this. All right, so here we are. We've got Electrum opened up. Again, check out the prior video for the sort of installation process. And again, as a recap, we are going to be using a Trezor device as one cosigner and a Ledger device as a second. We're just going to create a 2 of 2 multi-sig for purposes of this video. So to get started, we want to create a new wallet. And we want to, call this something logical, maybe multi-sig wallet demo, something like that. Go ahead and hit next. And as you can see, of course, it gives us the main, let me see if I can, it doesn't really help. What kind of wallet do you want to create? And of course, we want a multi-signature wallet. So we'll go ahead and hit next. Here is where we can specify the configuration for the cosigners. And it's given us a little visual indication of the same. So this is saying, for example, you can drag these around. Maybe you want a 2 of 3, right? So this is saying from 3 total possible cosigners, require 2 valid signatures in order to unlock funds and spend from the wallet. And you can see that, you could go all the way up to 15 in this case. So you do have a pretty high degree of flexibility there in terms of how you can set this up. For now, I'm just going to leave 2 of 2. So there's 2 total cosigners, both of which will be required. So let's go ahead and hit next. All right, so imagine that let's just say it's a friend, is also going through this same process. So we're going to show what that looks like from our perspective and then comment on what it would look like from my friends. So of course we have a hardware device in our case. So let's just say that we're the ones using the Trezor and my friend has the Ledger device, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and hit use a hardware device and I'll hit next. Now it's scanning devices, so I will plug in my Trezor. That's kind of important. And you can see my Trezor is getting connected here. I'll go ahead and hit next. And it has indeed detected my Trezor 1, as you can see. And I'm going to put in my PIN. So this, I've already set up this Trezor device. Again, I have videos that I will link in the description down below that goes through both the Trezor setup process as well as the Ledger, in case you want to use these devices as part of your multi-sig setup. The important concept to understand is that your Trezor wallet can produce signatures and keys for both single sig transactions as well as multi-sig, right? So your wallet has all those capabilities. And so what Electrum is essentially going to do is to extract the relevant key sets for multisig, and we'll be able to share our extended public key with our friend. So I'm going to put in the PIN and be right back. All right, so as you can see, the PIN was accepted. It says to put in a passphrase. For my particular case with the Trezor, I don't actually have a passphrase set just because I'm, again, sort of using this for demo purposes. So I'm just going to leave it blank and hit enter passphrase. And here we go. So critically, you need to save this derivation path. So I'm going to copy this and for now at least paste it into a notepad. And so I've got the derivation path there. And so again, this derivation path is pointing to the appropriate multi-sig compatible keys in my Trezor wallet. This derivation path will look different if you're just doing a single sig setup. So for purposes of recreating your multi-sig wallet later on, it's really, really important to save the derivation path. So we've copied that down. We'll leave the default as native SegWit. And let's go ahead and hit next. Now here is the other critical piece of information. This is the master public key, or XPub, ZPub in this case, that we will share with our friend. So I'm going to copy all of this and put it in my little notepad as well. And my friend is going to do the exact same thing with his Ledger. So he would have gone through this exact same process of selecting the multi-sig wallet in Electrum as the first option, then going through and connecting his Ledger, extracting the derivation path, which would likely be the same, and then extracting the ZPub for his Ledger device. And so now what we would do in reality is use some sort of secure, encrypted, perhaps chat. Signal could be an option. Briar is another very good option. There's a number of kind of options out there, but you'd want to use some secure, encrypted, chat app to share this information. Now, what is it that we're sharing? This is not like your private key, right? There's no way that someone could kind of take this and spend funds out of your Trezor or whatever the case is. But you do want to at least be sensitive to the fact that if someone had this, they'd be able to look at all your different balances. They would be able to know how much Bitcoin you have on your wallet. And from a privacy standpoint, probably something you don't want. So be careful with this, even though it's not your private key. At no point, again, is the private key going to leave the hardware devices, and that's the whole point. But suffice it to say, that's what you want to do. Step one is to grab the ZPub and the derivation path for your hardware device and share it with your friend. Now, if we had a more complex setup, let's say we had a 3 of 5, or a 4 of 7, right? You would need to collect basically everyone else's ZPub and derivation path information to complete the setup. Because as you will see as the next step, we're going to form the multisig using that other information. Okay, So however many there are in the setup, each of those individuals needs to extract these two pieces of information as I just showed, and then share it with everyone else. And we're going to do the same thing for Ledger. We're just going to pretend like we are my friend, okay? So let's open back up Electrum. And let's make this a little bigger. And so, again, pretend I am my friend. I would do the exact same steps. I would say create new wallet. I can name it whatever. These are local wallet names. I'll hit next. And I will do the same thing, right? I'll say Multisignature wallet. I'll hit next. And we'll do a 2 of 2 setup. I'll hit next. All right, so I'm going to get my ledger. I'm going to get my ledger plugged in. I'm going to put in the PIN and be right back. And I will also enter into the Bitcoin app. It's the only app I have on here, but you need to be, given that Ledger is a multi-crypto asset device, you need to expressly be in the Bitcoin app. And so application is ready. And so now we can come back and say use a hardware device and hit next. And it will scan for any connected devices. And indeed, it has found my Ledger Nano S, or my friends in this example. So let's hit next. And again, we've got the same derivation path, so we will copy this down, right? And so this is what my friend would be writing down, the exact sort of information as we did. We'll hit next, and we will grab the master public key. So there we go. We now have the components that will form the multi-sig wallet. And so from here, we can say next, because my friend has done the same process for the ledger and has shared that information with me. And so now I can say enter co-signer key. So I'll hit next, and I will add the co-signer key that my friend shared with me. So there it is. I'll copy that and paste it, and I'll hit next. Finally, we can choose a password to encrypt the multisig wallet. This is a local password, so this is just going to encrypt the wallet file like literally on your computer. And so the next time you open this multisig wallet, you will have to put in this password. So I will do that and be right back. All right, so we've chosen a password and we can go ahead and proceed. And so here we go. We've got our multisig setup. Now, if my friend followed those same instructions and used his ledger device, and then as the second step put in my ZPub connected to my Trezor, he would of course see the same interface. But once we start conducting activity here, he will actually be able to see exactly that same information. And you can even test this out before you do anything. You could go to addresses. If you don't see addresses, you can go to the view menu and say show addresses. But you should basically see, in both cases, like if I were on a Zoom call with my friend and I said, open up your addresses in Electrum that you just created and look at the first address, we would see the exact same set of addresses. That's a good confirmation that my friend has recreated the same multisig as I am looking at. And so we are both geographically separated, but we have this same sort of cockpit view of our wallet. Now, from here, let's receive some Bitcoin. So let's just generate a new address here. And so you can either copy and paste this address into a different wallet from which you want to send funds, or you can open up the QR code, which is a nice option, and that is what I'm going to do. I am just on my phone opening up my Blue Wallet Bitcoin wallet. It's just a mobile Bitcoin wallet, and I'm going to scan the QR code. All right, so I have sent 10,000 sats from my other wallet, and indeed you can see that that has been updated to reflect this inbound unconfirmed transaction. If I come back to history, I can see the same, right? I've got an inbound 10,000 sats. So let's give a chance for this to be confirmed, and then we'll be right back to show how to spend it out of our Multisig wallet. And again, just as a reminder, if my friend would see the same exact thing, my friend would see the same 10,000 inbound sats because we have created this sort of shared view of the Multisig wallet. And that information is simply being queried from the blockchain, and that is why both of us can see it, given that we have constructed the exact same multisig in both cases. I'm going to create a brand new wallet, and so I'm going to name it Multisig Demo 2. So this would be my friend's wallet, Multisignature, 2 of 2. Use a hardware device. And so I've got my ledger, because again, I'm my friend, and I'll hit next. Scanning the device, has Ledger Nano, and indeed there's the derivation path and the master public key. So again, this is exactly the same that we extracted earlier. It's just in this case, I'll put in the cosigner key of the Trezor. So again, this, if I was my friend, I would put in the ZPub that I received from me. And so let me just copy that over. There we go. I can choose to put in, again, this is just a local password. So in practice, you'd want to, put this. I will leave it off for now. And there we go. So as you can see, it's got the same information reflected in it, right? So this is what my friend would see, and this is what I would see. And you can see that, it has this sort of leading signer device of the Trezor. Whereas in my friend's case, it has this leading signer as the ledger. And so, both individuals would see the exact same information. And so let's now discuss how we would spend these funds out of our Multisig wallet using signers from geographically separated locations. So first we want to come, of course, to the Send tab. And we can do a few things. We can paste in an address. We can use the handy camera feature, which will open up your computer's camera to scan a QR code, or you can load in a file. So we're going to use the camera. Again, you'll see I've got my Blue Wallet here open, and so that has now copied that in. And let's go ahead and send the max amount. So it's incorporated a fee, of course. And what we now want to do is hit pay ... And of course, we can adjust the fee rate if we wish. You can hit the advanced option and see kind of the full breakdown of inputs and outputs that are going into this transaction. And of course, you can see that it is unsigned, right? This is an unsigned transaction. So let's say finalize. We'll go ahead and hit sign because we have our Trezor. This is our device, and we are going to sign with our device plugged in. So I'll go ahead and hit sign, and it will require me, this is just unique to Trezor, it will require me to put my PIN in this fashion. And of course I don't have a passphrase on my Trezor, so that's fine. And as you can see, I now have the details being played back on my Trezor. So confirm that we're sending to the following address. So I would make sure that that is indeed accurate. And it is, so I'll hit confirm. And it says, are you really sure? Sending it from our wallet, and that includes the fee. I can say yes, confirm. And it's signing the transaction. Now, you will see that we now have the status updated to partially signed. That is good. We have one of two signatures applied. And you will notice that we cannot yet broadcast the transaction to the network because we haven't applied the required number of valid signatures. We still have one left to to do. And so what we want to do is go to the export button, and we want to, in most cases, I would imagine, export to a file. And so I'm going to hit export to a file. I'm going to put it right on my desktop, and we are exporting a partially signed Bitcoin transaction. So I'll go ahead and hit save. It says transaction exported successfully. I'll say all right, and I could close this out because I've done my part, right? It's now on my friend to apply the remaining signature. So what I would do is I would take this file, and in the same fashion as what we were doing earlier, whether that's through an encrypted chat app or however you transfer the ZPub information, you would want to do the exact same thing with this partially signed Bitcoin transaction file. And so now let's complete that transaction. So I'll go to Tools and say Load Transaction from File. And here it is. So I'll bring this partially signed Bitcoin transaction file in. And you can see that I can now apply a second required signature. So I'll go ahead and hit Sign. And it says confirm the status on my ledger. So I can review the output. I indeed see the amount of sats that I want. I can verify the address that this is going to be sent to, and I can hit accept. Now, ideally, the comment I was mentioning earlier, there is no change address here because I'm sending the full amount out of this wallet. But if there was some Bitcoin being returned to me as change, the limitation of the ledger is that you can't also verify that change address on the device. Again, that is being upgraded as part of their kind of Bitcoin 2.0 app, but it's going to be a little bit of time before that all propagates through. So in any case, this is fine. I'll hit accept, and it'll ask me to just confirm the fees, and we'll hit accept and send. So there you have it. We can now see that the status has switched to signed. So we have both valid signatures applied, and we can go ahead now and broadcast the transaction to the network. And it says payment sent. We've got our transaction ID. And indeed, you saw that both of the wallets reflect the same exact information of this outbound 10,000 sats. So there you have it, my friends. That is how to create and conduct transactions with a multi-sig wallet using Electrum for participants that are in geographically separated areas. Now, again, what if this was a more complex setup? The process would look the same. I would have applied, my friend rather, would have applied that second signature and then exported that partially signed Bitcoin transaction and sent it on to the next friend, right? And let's say it was a 3 of 5 in that case, was the third and final required signature, then they would be the one that hits, broadcast. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up. All right, my friends, there you have it. So again, the motivation for this video was really to provide some more clarity on how to do a multi-sig setup that is truly geographically dispersed without using a kind of service provider like Unchained Capital, like Casa, which, both have fantastic ethos within the community. So again, nothing against those options, but it's a case that a lot of people, don't want to involve a company at all. And so in this video, we went through how to do just that using the Electrum Wallet. Again, there's a lot of content on multisig out there, but not so much that specifically comments on how you assemble transactions from geographically separated participants, which honestly, I think is one of the most common use cases when people think about multisig. I'm curious to hear what you think, my friends. What are your thoughts? What are your questions? Leave me a note in the comments down below. But I hope you found this valuable and useful. If you did, you already know what to do. Give this video a like, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. But for now, my friends, we'll go ahead and leave this here. Remember, every sat counts. And until next time, I'll see you then.